daughter, his second wife. And they had an extra bedroom, and I'd stay there, and I'd go downstairs and play checkers and meet with the guests, talk with them. They thought I was wonderful.
How old were you?
Well, I remember my 6-year-old birthday, Mother and Daddy gave me a set of Bookhouse, and there was this woman who used to spend all summer at Mountain View. Yeah. She was a teacher from Cincinnati. She thought that was the most wonderful thing that they gave me a set of books for Christmas.
For your birthday.
Yeah. So I don't know how. And Carol and I used to go later. We'd have a room of our own in the hotel. We'd go stay there. And we'd go down and get ice cream after the dining room was closed, and cat pies or whatever we wanted.
How old were you all when you did that?
Probably 10 or 12.
That's hilarious.
We'd walk over there from school. We'd walk through the Pi-Fi property where they had bulls out in the field and cows, and they were in a separate field, the bulls and the cows. And they had gardens, because the young people worked there. That's how they were able to go to school. They lived there and worked to pay for their room and board, and they. But anyway, we'd walk over there at lunch sometimes and have lunch during our lunch hour.
It seems like I remember a story that Grandpa Huff would take you driving.
Oh, he used to take us in his car. Take me, and Carol used it with me. We'd go to Greenville. There was a Lutheran church I think he used to belong to. We'd see all the old graveyard, cemetery, headstones. So anyway, yeah, he took me to Knoxville sometime by myself. There's a little seat in the back seat, little armrest you could put down. I'd sit up there in that little place. Remember one time we stopped on the way to Knoxville. There was a wreck, and he stopped to see if he could help. And he took my pillow to help this poor lady who was laying there in the grass. I wondered why she's getting blood on my pillow. But anyway.
Isn't that funny? Do you remember if he ever gave you presents?
He used to buy me dresses sometimes, and Mother would always hem them up, and he didn't like that. He thought my dresses should be longer, and she thought they should be shorter.
How old were you when he died?
I was 17. I was at UT. I was a sophomore.
So that was probably pretty hard.
Well, it was the first person that I knew personally that had died, so I was sad.
Mm-hmm.
But they sent all these flowers, all these senators and congressmen, special people, and I never thought about flowers making a difference, but it made a difference to me. I thought that was wonderful that he was being remembered.
So how did he have relationships with all those, like, senators and...
They came there and stayed, but John D. Rockefeller came there, and President Roosevelt stayed there, and all these famous people stayed there at the hotel, and they knew him. I mean, he got to know them, and of course he had worked to help make the park happen.
Mm-hmm.
He was very instrumental in that. So he worked with all those people. They had the National Governors Conference in Gatlinburg, and we had it at the Mountain View.
Do you remember what year?
I sort of think it was 52, but I'm not sure, 51, something like that.
And then you waited tables there when you were a teenager?
Yeah, I waited, the first year I waited worked at the Riverside. Then I went down to the Mountain View and worked for a couple of years in the summer. And that was it. When I was in high school, I didn't work after I went to college. I don't remember.
Now, when you, how did you take orders? Did you have a ticket where you wrote everything down?
No, nobody wrote anything down. You had to remember it. You had to take the order and remember it.
Give me an example of a.
Well, breakfast is the most challenging because you have to remember juice, what kind of juice, or cantaloupe, or grapefruit, half grapefruit. And then you have to remember if they wanted eggs or pancakes, they wanted eggs, what kind of eggs. Then you had to remember what kind of meat. If they wanted country ham or bacon or whatever. I don't know if they had sausage or not. And you had to remember toast or biscuits. You had to remember all that. For a table of 8, that was pretty challenging.
And they had grits.
No.
They didn't have grits?
Never heard of a grit when I was growing up.
Really?
No. No grits.
How interesting is that?
Grits is not a mountain food.
So, I'm trying to think. When did they start having art in that little gallery there?
The aircraft shop,
Yeah, the aircraft shop.
1927.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically the handwork of the.
The mountain people giving away to make some money.
Mm-hmm. Was that in partnership with
Pie-Fies.
Pie-Fies?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And what about I can't think of her name, the nurse?
Marjorie Chalmers.
Marjorie Chalmers.
She wasn't the first one. There was another one before that. They did health care and preserved art was 2 things the Pie-Fies did besides education.
Hmm.
They tried to fill whatever needs there were.
Mm-hmm. So did you see Marjorie Chalmers?
Oh yeah, and Carol and I used to go over all the time. Tell her we had sprained our ankle and she'd wrap them up and send us back to school. They wouldn't be sprained. We just liked to go visit her.
You guess she knew that it wasn't really
Oh,
sprained?
of course she did.
So she probably liked to visit. What was your favorite subject at school?
Probably math.
Hmm. Well, did you know that Memo had come to Gatlinburg as a teacher at the Pie-Fies school?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Did that affect you in any way going to school?
No.
No. So what about Mount LeConte? Did you go up Mount LeConte?
Yeah, I used to go up there and stay a couple of weeks in the summer with Philip and Cookie, and mainly with Philip. He was closer to my age.
Mm-hmm.
And we
You
played.
didn't get to go to his funeral.
No, because you were graduating from Harvard then. Nancy left and went to it.
Yeah.
But he and I would go make forts out in the mountains. We'd use moss and logs. And one time I started to go back to where we lived, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going home." He said, "That's not the way you go." I was going the exact opposite way. That shows you how you get lost in the woods.
Hmm.
You wouldn't have thought you would have gotten lost as much as you've been up there.
I did.
Now, so when you hiked up, did you go up the Alum Cave Trail?
Usually, I went up the Rainbow Falls sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So you had a horse or a pony when you were a little girl?
I had a horse.
A horse. And you'd go
When
riding?
When I was 8 years old, Daddy bought me a horse.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And tell her how you got rid of that horse.
My daddy sold it one year. He didn't even tell me. I
Okay.
wasn't riding it, and so he just got rid of it.
Yeah. But you used to ride. Where would you go ride?
In the mountains.
With anybody else?
Well, I went with my boyfriend one time. I thought he was my boyfriend, Henry Parton. He and I went up Campbell Mountain and we got back and Daddy was out looking for me. Boy, Henry saw him, he took off. Blun, 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 blun. He wasn't gonna have Daddy say anything to him. And he said, "You get that horse to the barn." And I did.
What was the best thing about your dad?
Well, I think I knew he loved us. That was probably the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, Mother always told us when he was drinking he was sick, and so we didn't pay attention to him when he was drinking.
Right. How hard was that on you?
Well, I didn't know anything different, so I didn't know it was hard. It's the way it was. Had to deal with it.
Do you think that's because your mom handled it in the best way she could?
Probably.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite thing about your mom?
I don't know. She was just always a good person, but I never confided in her. I always thought, she always told me to do my best, and I was the oldest, so I had to set the example, and that's all I remember her telling me. I kind of raised myself, I felt like.
Because she was too busy taking care of the next baby?
Yes, she had lots of babies to take care of.
I felt the same way growing up.
So then when you were 16, that's when you went to UT.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like you were younger than everybody there?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I knew I was, but I thought that was great. I didn't worry about it.
Mm-mm. What was the biggest challenge of college for you?
I don't know. I never thought about it. I don't have any idea.
Because you just did what you thought you were supposed to do. And
Yeah, I mean, I raised my hand. Anybody wanted me to do anything, I always volunteered for it, because I always had done that. And I just did my classes best I could. And I just thought that's what you did.
Mm-hmm. So, somewhere along the line you met Dad and you all eloped.
Well, yeah, I met him at UT. I was in love with Joe Delosier, and I went over to see him to Memphis, flew over there. Your dad said not to call him if I came back and decided on Joe, which I did. But I was wearing his lavalier when I came back. If he'd given me a pen, I probably would have married him. But anyway, your dad kind of did some things to get me to come over to the Cap Sig house, and we sort of reconnected. And Joe called me and said, "I guess this is it with you and me. You've decided on Doug." And I said, "Yeah." So anyway, we had some other friends that got married in the spring, and I was going to graduate, and so we eloped.
Why'd you elope instead of getting married?
Well, I didn't want to. I didn't have to put up with Daddy. But it turned out he did fine at Nancy and Martha's and Patsy's wedding. All of them, he gave them all away. He did fine. They were worried about it, but he did fine.
So, y'all got married, and then next thing you know, you had a baby.
Mm-hmm. Same year. Yep, so I was off and running. And your dad was still in school. He finally dropped out.
Were those years fun for you, or were they just hard?
They were hard. I don't know whether it was fun or not. I don't know. I loved having a little baby.
Mm-hmm.
You'd gone from siblings to children.
Yeah, I always loved babies. I still do. But I don't know how to take care of them anymore.
Amen.
Do you think you had? Oh, tell me about. I remember you told me a story one time about where you play basketball.
Yeah, I played basketball 4 years in high school, and we'd play. We play about 22 games a year with other schools.
22. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. We had to run 200 laps a day, and it was serious stuff. Played in the tournament and everything. Loved it.
So when the bus would take you off to a game, did parents drive and
No,
attend?
my mother and daddy never saw a game. I never wanted them to. But nobody's parents came. Anyway, and then we'd get home 2 or 3 in the morning, and Carol and I'd walk up the street together by ourselves. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Was it a dirt road back then?
It may have been paved by the time I was playing basketball. Dirt road when I started school.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And y'all didn't get scared walking around?
No, heavens no.
Mm-mm.
They didn't have bad guys back then.
They had bears?
No.
Not
We
in
weren't
town.
afraid of bears.
No, of course you weren't. You grew up with them. Were there other things like sports that you liked?
There weren't any other sports.
Did you do at the school, were they teaching any of the crafts to students?
Yes. I took weaving.
You took weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I like weaving.
Mm-hmm.
The boys took shop.
The boys took shop and the girls took weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one of the Pi-Fi women that they paid for. I don't know if she was Pi-Fi or not, but and we had a choir. We sang.
Oh, yeah?
And I took voice lessons from the director of the school.
Hmm.
She said I was a high soprano,
Ooh.
which is what I sang at UT when I joined the singers.
Hmm.
Can't believe it now. I've been singing alto in the church choir.
I can't believe it either. I can't even see high notes, much less sing them.
I sing the high notes in the Hallelujah chorus.
Wow. Well, I'm skipping around because I keep thinking of things I forget. What about Grandpa Huff? Like stories about him and like his recommendation on how wide the road should be in Gatlinburg.
He
And
said that he told them they ought to make it 6 stories,
6 lanes.
6 lanes, because there were going to be a lot of tourists coming there. They wouldn't believe him, so they didn't.
what about when he'd buy a car?
Well, he would pay for a car. If you thought they charged him too much, he'd never go back. And if they were fair, he'd go buy another one from him.
Would he try to talk them down in their
No,
price?
No. He paid them whatever they asked.
Hmm.
But he would never go back if he thought it was too much.
What about, where did he get his food for the hotel?
Mainly from farmers or the farmers market, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd pay the people a nickel more a bushel than they were asking, because, of course, when the war came, he always got the best food because he'd always paid them more.
Hmm. And what about how Gatlinburg got its name?
Well, the story I've heard was that there was a man there that was the postmaster, was named Gatlin, and he had a slave woman. They told him if he get rid of that slave, they'd name the town for him, so he did.
I thought it was if you left.
Mm-mm. He had to get rid of his slave.
Well, I thought he left the town.
I don't know.
You
Maybe
don't know?
He did.
I was thinking that he left the town and took the woman with him.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think they would have named the town for him if he hadn't gotten rid of her.
They name it if he left the
They
town.
didn't, they
That's what
didn't
I-
believe in slavery.
Yeah.
And why didn't they believe in slavery?
You know, they were more of the Yankees. They weren't Southerners. They were on the Yankee side of the war, Union side.
Did that have something to do with kind of their Appalachian?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out, how. Because they're definitely in the South.
Well, Sevier County, that whole eastern Tennessee was all Union. I don't know why, but they were.
Huh, that's interesting.
You know why, Dick?
Well, what?
Why East Tennessee was Union?
Well, there were no large farms, no slaves, like there were in West Tennessee.
Yeah.
So East Tennessee was always more northern.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't have the farms that.
They never had slavery.
Never had slavery, yeah.
They never needed it.
Well, I don't know if they needed it or not, but
Well, they didn't have the big farms and the big.
they probably could have used some slaves. Anybody who couldn't.
Looking back,
If you didn't, if you
Go
didn't
ahead.
believe in it, well, it depends on if you believed in it or not.
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to believe in.
Yeah, it is now.
It is now,
You don't
right?
know what it was like then.
No.
It's hard to imagine that it was, that people believed in it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. It's hard to understand.
When you think back and growing up in Gatlinburg and not just growing up, but all the years you had your businesses there and all that, what are the things that you treasure most about that area?
The mountains.
The mountains, yeah. With all that Gatlinburg has become, I guess going down into Pigeon Forge and other places too, for that matter. What do you think about all those developments and?
Well, Pigeon Forge was a cow pasture when I was growing up. There's people who made money, and so, I can't complain. Dolly Parton certainly has done a lot for the area, so I can't complain.
What was the kind of the motto of Gatlinburg when you were growing up?
Well, just the only thing I remember is I was always told we would treat our tourists as guests. Treat them well. They were guests in our town.
So then you had 3 children of your own.
When she finally had perfect child, that's when she stopped.
So,
Isn't that right, Mom?
No.
so what was unique about Doug when he was a little guy?
I don't know. I thought he was cute. He was a lot of fun. I don't know. He was smart.
Was he hard to keep up with?
Yes, he was. He was very busy.
Didn't he climb a house one time?
Yeah, he climbed the ladder in the house next door when he was 11 months old.
11 months old.
He walked down the street when he was 14 months old. I found him at the top of a 14-foot ladder. He kept me busy.
Oh my goodness. And so then I was next.
You were easy, baby. You were sweet. And you didn't knock Doug's blocks down or anything. He was lucky. He had a little sister that was good to him.
I was good to him, wasn't I? And then you had Laura.
And she was probably the easiest baby I ever had.
What made her so easy?
Well, we'd come home from having a babysitter. she was 4 or 5 months old, and I'd pick her up and play with her, and then put her and say night night, and I'd lay her down, she'd go right back to sleep. And
Oh,
she was
Perfect.
she was really cute.
She was cute, but how was she with Doug's blocks and things?
Yeah, she'd probably break those down. I don't
I
remember.
was just helping him learn to build.
So what was it like managing 3 kids?
It was tiring.
Yeah. When you look back on your growing up years and you kind of raised yourself, did your brothers and sisters come to you for advice? Were you closer to one that you could talk to more?
They all ask me things, and they still do, and they all do what I tell them still.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they raised themselves like you did, or
I don't know.
yeah? It's,
I don't know if they feel that way or not.
yeah.
So when did the like Christmas dinners at the Mountain View start?
I don't remember not having them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we always had them.
Always had them on Christmas Eve, which obliterated your birthday.
Well, it was obliterated anyway, being Christmas Eve.
Right.
That was, at least Mother made me a cake and everybody sang happy birthday. But I never had a party until I was 16, then Carol had one for me.
Yeah, she did.
Mm-hmm.
Was it fun?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Huh.
She had boys and girls, and my boyfriend Joe Delozier was there. So it was fun.
Sounds like fun. Well, I'm going to stop this first edition because
Good.
it's been about 30 minutes.